All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Good to see you all. Thanks for hanging out every day with me on Callin, YouTube, and Rockfin. Please, if you like what I do, if you appreciate what I do, please consider making a contribution to the show. There's a Cash App on my screen, which is a good way to contribute to the show. There's also links in the description box, other ways to contribute to the show. Tips are always great too. Anyways, and I appreciate everyone who has contributed to the show in the past. Thank you. All right, I'm going to jump right in. As usual, I have too many links and not enough time. My problem is that I spend too much time on Twitter. And so it's actually really a good practice for me to get the show together and then not look at my phone or at the computer for a while, because then I'll just continue to keep adding. This is actually not really what I wanted to show y'all, but not right now. But let's start. There's lots going on. And we'll get right into it. More fires in Spain. Spanish fires. Passengers injured fleeing train in Bahis. 10 passengers were hurt, 3 seriously, when they tried to escape a train that became caught up in a sweeping wildfire northwest of Valencia in eastern Spain. That's fairly crazy. Also had some footage somewhere of people running. There was a forest fire in Algiers that came into an urban area and just started taking everything down in this city in Algiers. I don't know if I have that handy. But many things, many extreme weather events going on as usual here in London. Flooding on the M25 after thundery downpours. Saw someone also posting Ireland also getting hit with some major flooding rain. So that's going on. France again getting hit with pretty crazy hail and rain. Oh my God, I have too many links. Here we go. This is from France. Pretty wild footage in France. A few minutes ago in Lyon, France, there was a storm with heavy hail. That's, what is that, 3 days in a row that we've seen insane storm footage out of France. Lots of hail. Big weather events. Right, singled out, taken singularly. You might say, well, this happens once in a while. But if you realize that it's happening all over the globe, it seems to be increasing in its frequency, then something else is happening too. Let's keep going. Very quickly, Phantoma sent me this. This is funny. Another, kind of, I don't know, a not gotcha from Fox News. John Kerry's climate office is rife with far-left climate groups. Oh my God. You mean the people that are in charge of the climate response are a bunch of climate freaks? Oh, whoa! Okay. This is not a gotcha. This is not. This is only a gotcha to people that don't. This is only a political spectrum gotcha. This is a. If you're of a particular political bent, you'd find this, really damning or something. But I can tell you, there's probably more fossil fuel industry money all up in every single office and agency in the government than climate groups or climate activist groups, right? They're probably in the very, they're in a minority, probably in very small numbers. But I don't know if you're in the climate group, if you're in the climate agency or office, if you're John Kerry and you're doing something about climate, it wouldn't. Would it be weird to have climate? I don't know, other climate agencies or NGOs or whatever around. I don't know. It's just not a gotcha. This is not a what? Oh my God! It's not a. This is not a. This isn't the collusion that they're trying to make it out to seem. Right. And this is actually, if you actually care about the climate, you probably want to use people that are more aware of climate issues. You probably wouldn't want fossil fuel executives in the climate office. They're probably there. They're probably around there somewhere. You probably wouldn't want, oil, gas, construction, whatever, lobbying interest up in the climate change. You probably want climate, anyways, whatever. It's just, it's slightly ridiculous. But I like to point out the ridiculous here and there. Let's move to some, more data and evidence, more droughts, more water shortages lining up. This from Poppy. South Africa is having issues with water supply. Coastal city may totally cut off water for 500,000 due to drought. Emergency boreholes drilled near the sea could lead to saline water intrusion, contaminating groundwater and rendering borehole water undrinkable. Oh, that's not good. And it kind of applies to what I was talking about yesterday too, around, the idea that you have to keep fresh water going out to the sea and not just constantly divert it, because then as the article I read yesterday said, you would get saltwater intrusion, and that would be going into the water supply, and that wouldn't be good. So there's a reason, there's a very, logical reason why you would want to let water go out to the sea and not be anti-human and divert it, and keep it from the people because you're anti-human. Drought beset South African city, taps aquifer, shirks long-term solutions. Right. We're in a drought. We're in big trouble right now. And long-term solutions, who knows? Who knows? A major coastal city located in South Africa's Eastern Cape is facing a total water cutoff for about 500,000 residents. Disaster relief hydrologists have begun drilling boreholes to access groundwater so that hospitals and schools can stay open during the emergency in Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality. But critics say the city administration has failed to develop a long-term plan to support water harvesting from intermittent rains and construction of desalination plants. And we talked about there's issues with those too. They also point out that over-reliance on boreholes drilled near the sea could lead to saline water intrusion into the aquifer, contaminating groundwater and rendering borehole water undrinkable. Well, that's not good. More problems of scale for humans, and more problems. Here's something from Lake Mead. This is an interesting video. Why it's interesting, why I thought it was interesting, I saw this on Facebook. It's about Lake Mead. So if anybody wants to, people are trying to come up with theories about who's doing what and why there's no water in the Lake Mead aquifer. Well, this video points out there are actually signs along the ramp, the loading ramp or offloading ramp, whatever, the boat ramp, we'll call it the boat ramp, into Lake Mead. And the signs indicate where the water level has been over 20 years, right? So this is a 20-year, at least 20-year problem of water going down, water levels in Lake Mead going down. It's a slow-moving disaster that has suddenly gained a lot of acceleration and is now at a very dangerous point. And I've been doing this show for 5 years, and I've read several articles over the 5 years about Lake Mead's water levels and how they're getting lower and how they're going lower, and they keep on going lower. But people want to come up with these ideas around whatever it is about how somebody is making this happen. I don't know. It's been happening a long time. And in the end, why would you make, it's a little weird. It's a strange evil plan in my mind. It just, as evil plans go, it's kind of weird. But anyways, this is Lake Mead water levels. I don't know if I can go all the way back to the beginning of this. But here's 2002. Keeps going, 2004, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Through the years, they have these signs that say, so the water levels in Lake Mead have been steadily going down for a long time. While the populations of the cities, which Lake Mead feeds, have been going up. So I don't know. Maybe the conspiracy is that nobody has been adequately warned about the issues that we're going to be facing with no water in Lake Mead. Maybe that's the conspiracy, is that nobody is actually doing their job of communicating. Eventually we're going to reach this point of like population, water level, population, and there's going to be a point at which this situation, this arrangement, this organization that we have in this particular region is going to be untenable. And nobody's really saying, hey, maybe we should do something different. I think that is the conspiracy, not something else. And this, also, this has been coming for a long time. So if you want to add this to the list of like, they're doing the anti-human things, I don't know, some there are some anti-human things going on, I guess. That's a whole nother subject, but they're doing the anti-human things. I don't know. It's been going on for a long time, and nobody's really been too alarmed about it. And now you want to be mad when people raise the alarm about something that nobody was alarmed enough about 20 years ago. Some things are worth being alarmed about. That's the other, the side of the coin where, people try to say, oh, they're trying to scare you with the climate change thing. Well, no, I don't know. You have to decide what is actually a concern and what is not a concern. And use your due diligence and use your, your logic and your common sense and try to understand what is really a threat and what isn't a threat. There's lots of threats. There's lots of threatening, panic-inducing things all over the place these days. Some are a little more panic-inducing than others. But I digress. More on droughts. There's lots more on droughts. Here is another, long-term failure to plan. A failure to set water aside for the future. When the Colorado's flow was up, we used it all. When it was down, we drained the reservoirs. Exactly. I mean, I don't know if I need to read even more than that. I think that pretty much sums it up. This is about how we got into this mess on the Colorado River. But that's how, I just said it, how you got into the mess. It's kind of like businesses that use, when they're high on the hog and have a lot of cash flow, and you use all that extra cash, to, buy more equipment or expand or something, or other things, whatever it might be. But you just, you take all the excess and you just push it out. And then when things get lean, you have no cushion. You have no backup. You have no, and family, you could use that for family planning, financial planning as well, right? When you got a bunch of money coming in, let's take a vacation. Let's go do all the things. Let's do an addition on the house. Let's have another kid. Let's, blah, blah, blah. Let's spend it all because we got it. And then when things get rough, you're like, we don't have any cushion. Now we got to take a loan out or something, or I got to get an extra job or something, so it's just bad planning. But that's a human, humans kind of do that. And it really sucks when they do it at a institutional level. Peter Dines asks, rightly, when do we stop watering golf courses? I don't know. Yeah. Some golf courses I've seen are very brown, and others pretty green. But, I don't know. If you like golf, I'm not going to disparage you, but I don't understand it myself. And certainly isn't very, golf isn't the only thing that uses a lot of resources, so. Peter Dines again points out, if you think that you live high above the ocean and that rising sea levels won't affect you, most of the world's goods are now imported through a global supply chain using ports that are under huge threat in the next few decades. There's nowhere to hide. Right. Yeah, you may not live close to the water, but all the things, the places where you get all the things, that's close to the water. Judy Truitt says, I eat range-fed beef. Hello. Okay. We're eventually going to get there. We're going to get to the beefy parts. Seems there's a lot of beefy parts. Man, there's so much to cover. Before we get there, we're going to cover this. Drought devastates U.S. cotton harvest. Drought devastates U.S. cotton harvest. Farmers, particularly in Texas, are abandoning failed crops in droves, and cotton prices are rising. Well, that's not good. New satellite observations show methane emission loss rates of 23 to 66% from shallow offshore Gulf. I just read something like yesterday about that, right? Or did I not? Maybe it was something else, but had the same numbers. Anyways, they're trying to say, well, in the Permian Basin, they're reporting 3.3 to 3.7% methane emission loss, right? Just escapes, I guess, into the air. Reported in the Permian Basin. But in the Gulf of Mexico, methane emission loss rates are 23 to 66% from shallow offshore Gulf of Mexico operations. Ooh. And Kevin Hester points out rightly, the methane leaks will be much worse than reported because some of it oxidizes in the water column, acidifying the ocean en route to the surface. Right. And you can count on those estimates being low balls anyways. Right, they're going to be conservative in those estimates. More on methane. Why is there a massive methane leak on the west coast of France? Asks Christopher Cartwright. pretty big. Methane emissions in the Arctic over coming from, I'm going to guess that's permafrost melt. Sweden, Finland, etc., Norway, England. Look at those methane emissions, massive. England, Ireland, Scotland, and then a bit of offshore. I mean, there's a lot of methane hot spots there. All right, let's get to this. Did you know this? I didn't know this. This is from George Monbiot. Eating grass-fed organic beef is the dietary equivalent of flying a private jet. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Yet many green-minded people seem to think the opposite. Once again, this is from George Monbiot, or John Morgebio. The most damaging farm products: organic, pasture-fed beef, and lamb. Did you know? I didn't know this. Did you all know this? It's interesting. I got to make you rethink. I'm not saying well, it's that organic beef that's ruining the planet. Maybe we should go back to the factory, industrial farm, to the non-organic methods. Not saying that's probably not the answer, right? Maybe all of it is bad. I don't know. You may be amazed by that answer, but the area of land used for grazing is vast compared with the meat and milk produced. So I guess they're saying it's the amount of land that's used that is causing the damage. Perhaps the most important of all environmental issues is land use. Every hectare of land we use for extractive industries is a hectare that can't support wild forests, savannas, wetlands, natural grasslands, and other crucial ecosystems. Oh, yes, that's correct. So, yeah, no lie detected. And farming swallows far more land than any other human activity. What are the world's most damaging farm products? You might be amazed by the answer: organic, pasture-fed beef and lamb. I realize this is a shocking claim. Of all the statements in my new book, Regenesis, it has triggered the greatest rage. Of course it did. I'm only eating the most organically grown, put to bed with a story at night, fed with a warm bottle of milk under a blanket, lamb and beef, sung to sleep with head pats. That's what I eat, because I'm better. I'm a better human. What are the anyways? I realize this is a shocking claim. I'm not trying to wind people up. I'm trying to represent the facts. Let me explain. Arable crops, some of which are fed to farm animals, occupy 12% of the planet's land surface. But far more land, 28%, is used for grazing. In other words, for pasture-fed meat and milk. Yes, across this vast area, farm animals that are entirely pasture-fed produce just 1% of the world's protein. Livestock farmers often claim that their grazing systems mimic nature. If so, the mimicry is a crude caricature. A review of evidence from over 100 studies found that when livestock are removed from the land, the abundance and diversity of almost all groups of wild animals increases. Well, there you go. So maybe, not so much on the organic meats. The only category in which numbers fall when grazing by cattle or sheep ceases are those that eat dung. Okay. Where there are cattle, there are fewer wild mammals, birds, reptiles, and insects on the land, and fewer fish in the rivers. Interesting. Perhaps most importantly, because their crucial role in regulating living systems. There tend to be no large predators. Also interesting, right, because you're not going to, well, they're going to disappear, but you're going to want those large predators away from your grass-fed cattle and your lambs, right? We don't think about large predators in the UK because we've exterminated them, and also pretty much in the US too. Efforts to bring back lynx and wolves have so far been thwarted by the objections of livestock farmers, of course. It's all about the humans or the food that they eat. In the United States, where big carnivores still exist, Federal and state agencies wage war against them on behalf of cattle and sheep farmers, often with astonishing brutality. A federal body called Wildlife Services uses poison bait, snares, and leg hold traps and shooting from planes and helicopters to kill wolves, coyotes, bears, and bobcats. Its agents have incinerated pups in their dens or dragged them out and clubbed them to death. Perhaps the most controversial killing tools are cyanide landmines, spring-loaded canisters of sodium cyanide planted in the ground that spray the poison into the faces of animals that trip them. They've killed a wide range of endangered species, dozens of domestic dogs, and at least one person. There are very few places, mostly parts of eastern and southern Africa, in which livestock farmers tolerate large predators, generally where tourism revenues are high. Yeah, you know, the lovely things that we gotta, you know, it's all about humans, really, at the end of the day. I'm going to end my reading of that right now. But did you know that? That's very interesting. Or interesting to think about, right? So maybe not so much. Maybe not so much with the pasture-fed beef. Maybe that's just not the way to go. I don't know. Some people raise animals in their like backyards. Again, it's all about scale, I think. You know, how much beefs are you growing? How much land are you using? You know, some people have like goats or chickens or, you know, something in their backyard that they may get dairy from. You know, that might be a different story. Generally, it's all about scale. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Now I know. Hopefully that is enlightening to y'all. I think. Well, let's listen to a couple more things on. Let's talk about climate policies just a little bit because that it seems to be in the news a lot. Here's an interesting story that's getting. So these are conflicting. I just want to talk about the conflicting messages in the age of confusion that we are living in. We have this story about Amos Miller in Pennsylvania. He's an Amish farmer, and the feds are trying to shut him down. I feel like there's more to this story than what people are letting on or what people are reporting. So, you know, my investigation is still underway on this story. Like, is something else going on in here? Is there another reason why they'd be shutting him down other than they just don't like him because he's an organic farmer or he's doing, you know, whatever. According to this report, he's growing things in a way, the natural way. They don't like it, right? This is opposite of what we're being told is happening in Europe, which is, you guys are using these fertilizers and nitrogen emissions, and we want you to change and do things more organic. And so, but the farmers are resisting. So it's like, you know, like in Europe, they're trying to be green, and the farmers don't want to be green. And this story is about a farmer being green, but the U.S. government doesn't want him to be green. So it's all, I'm confused. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but like, let's watch this.
Organic meat and dairy farm. The government is arguing that the farm isn't adhering to federal regulatory requirements concerning food, while the farm argues that this is just the latest attack on independent farmers giving their communities healthy food. The Miller Organic Farm in Birmingham, Pennsylvania, a remote Amish village, has been around for almost 30 years. The farm supplies everything from grass-fed beef and cheese to raw milk and organic eggs to dairy from grass-fed on-site water buffalo and all types of produce to roughly 4,000 private food club members who pay top dollar for high-quality whole food. The private food club members cherish their ability to get food from an independent farmer who isn't processing his meat and dairy at United States Department of Agriculture facilities, which mandates food be prepared in ways that Miller believes make it less nutritious. Miller contends that he's preparing food the way God intended. The U.S. government doesn't see it that way. They recently sent armed federal agents to the farm and demanded he cease operations. The government is also looking for more than $300,000 in fines, a request so steep it would put the farm out of business.
Okay. You guys got that? So they're trying to shut him down because he's not doing things to regulations. and he is growing things in an organic, natural way that don't meet whatever the USDA's regulations are, and that's why they're trying to shut him down and or fine him. The young man reporting, mentioned something about the attack on small farmers. It does seem like that, I cannot contradict the regularity of the stories, worldwide, globally, of the basically like regulatory attacks on small farmers. It does seem to be something that is absolutely happening. And is this a plan to, take small farmers out and have everything be industrialized? Does this coincide with Bill Gates buying up all the farmland? I don't know. This seems to be a bit of, I don't know if it's coordination, but the timing seems to be interesting. Let's listen to this from Russell Brand. Or not. Hold on one second. Yeesh. What if I do this? Nope, that's bad. I don't think that's... I think I just jacked up my screen sharing there. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I can't seem to get the sound ever to work on these videos. Try it again. I will try to refresh again.
But what Justin Trudeau is hitting the headlines for at the moment is the renewed pressure that he's putting on farmers, something that we're seeing all over the world. By some not centralised coincidence, farmers in Sri Lanka, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the UK, where I'm from, presumably in the United States, I don't know, let us know in the comments below if your agricultural community is being pressured, is because they're supposed to not use a particular type of fertiliser to reduce emissions. But some people, notably Vandana Shiva, guest of this show and brilliant activist, says that the reason that these laws are being introduced isn't to do anything about emissions, no one cares about emissions really, it's to take over those independent farms and centralise them. But what Justin Trudeau is hitting the headlines for at the moment is the renewed pressure that he's putting on farmers, something that we're seeing all over the world. By some not centralised coincidence, farmers in Sri Lanka, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the UK, where I'm from, presumably in the United States, I don't know, let us know in the comments below if your agricultural community is being pressured, is because they're supposed to not use a particular type of fertiliser to reduce emissions. But some people, notably Vandana Shiva, guest of this show and brilliant activist, says that the reason that these laws are being introduced isn't to do anything about emissions, no one cares about emissions really, it's to take over those independent farms and centralise them. But what Justin Trudeau is hitting the headlines for at the moment is the renewed pressure that he's putting on farmers, something that we're seeing all over the world. By some not centralised coincidence, farmers in Sri Lanka, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the UK, where I'm from, presumably in the United States, I don't know, let us know in the comments below if your agricultural community is being pressured, is because they're supposed to not use a particular type of fertiliser to reduce emissions. But some people, notably Vandana Shiva... Okay, so I think he said a couple things twice there. I mean, there does seem to be, right? There does seem to be, something of a loosely coordinated attack on small farmers from various directions, it seems like, right? So the USDA is like, you guys aren't doing this, you organic farmer are not doing your things according to how we want it to be. And the EU is like, you farmers are not doing your things organically enough for us, et cetera. And then you can, in India, it's a different story, right? It's a different reason, or different things are going on. But it does seem, and this, I have to say, I'm on the side of the farmers. I'm on the side of, small independent farmers, or just people in general being able to grow their own food.
right? Community gardens, people growing in their backyard, collecting rainwater, whatever it is, like people having autonomy to grow their own food, I think is a basic right. And so, I'm going to have to I'm going to have to come down on the side of the right of people to grow their own food and not have your food be highly, tightly controlled, centralized, food sources from industrial corporations. Like I prefer that the food does not come from these, right, from these corporate entities. Very quickly, William, how you doing? You're on.
Can you hear me?
No, you're a little muffled.
Is that better?
A little bit better, slightly.
What's going on with my phone here? Well, I'll just speak up. I hope you can hear me all.
I think
Well,
I think you're well. Hey, William, you're actually breaking up quite a bit. I don't know. Can you try to go out of the queue and come back in again? Because I can't, or at least,
I will.
yeah, because it's really pretty bad.
Okay, thanks.
All right. All right, we'll try this again. All right, William, you're on.
Can you hear me now?
I don't know. Yeah, I think your connection is kind of bad today. I don't know what's going on, William.
Something meant to be. I'll try it tomorrow.
Yeah, try. Yeah, okay. Thank you, William. I appreciate it. Yeah, the connection is quite bad. I'm sorry. It- okay. Usually get pretty good, um, pretty clear connection from William, but I don't know, for whatever reason that was not good today. So yeah, it does seem like something is happening on that level of, um, on the level of farming and farmers, protesting what is going on. I actually, there's more protests going on in Germany. It seems to be all over Europe. There's quite a few farmers protesting what's going on. These climate policies, they do not like them. Interestingly enough, I found this article about the very same thing. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it is here. Excuse me. I found this article in Politico, and this is from 3 years ago. And it's the exact same thing. Angry Dutch farmers swarm The Hague to protest green rules. Look at, look at all these tractors. 2019, 3 years ago. And they're all heading to The Hague. And it's all about the same thing. A clampdown on nitrogen emissions that could wreak havoc on their businesses. So I find this interesting, and this has been going on for actually several years, this fight between the farmers and the EU. Which makes me, I don't know, this makes the subject of this particular, just this, the EU and the farmers in the EU and what they're protesting, makes this specifically way more nuanced to me. Like, I'm a little less, as far as the European farmers go, I'm a little less inclined to be like, those bad old EU people trying to, they've been doing this they've been going back and forth for a long time on this. And the farmers have been given a lot of time and a lot of leeway. Is some of it maybe intended to control some of the farms? I guess, but this is not a new thing. Again, I'm sorry to maybe upend the conspiracy theorists, camp a little bit, but they're acting like brand new like this is brand new. Like, oh my God, look what they're doing. All of a sudden, this is coordinated. Maybe not. It's not all of a sudden. It's been going on for quite a while. Again, like the Lake Mead issue, it's kind of been a slow moving thing going forward. And all of a sudden we're at a point where they're like, well, look, now you got, we've been telling you guys for like 5 years or more that you got to change it up. And we've been I'm giving you time at it. And so I'm less inclined to be like, this is a little more nuanced to me. So I don't know. I think this is a different story. You can't tie all these stories together because I think each story individually has its own nuances and has its own thing around this. I don't know. Are they trying to seize land? Maybe. Maybe they are. Maybe that's part of it. I don't necessarily agree with that part. But if you're a farmer and the government has been telling you for 5 years, like, hey, you're going to have to change things up. And then, there's been this back and forth and we're mad about it. And they've been, trying to give you time and trying to help, whatever. I'm a little less inclined to be like, this is some Agenda 2030, all out of the blue, we're going to clamp down on you. I don't think that's what it is. I think this is a different story. And this is certainly a different story than the USDA coming down on an Amish farmer for wanting to grow his food in an organic way, natural way, but not meeting these USDA, whatever these probably are slightly arbitrary standards are, right? So I think these are different stories. I don't know, but I'm trying to get more, I'm always trying to get more information around this. But this is what I've seen. And we've been covering this story for a while, for a few months now. The Dutch farmers and the European farmers, we've been talking about it for a long time. And it's way more nuanced than people are presenting it. And so, and I don't know if I think, obviously nitrogen, I'd like to see other industries regulated, right? It's a little weird that farmers are getting it first. Farming is a big source of emissions. It's a very large source of emissions. It's one of the biggest sources of emissions. So there's no weirdness in trying to tackle farming, but are they cutting back the airline industry? Are they trying to cut the car industry back? I don't know. Are other things happening in other industries that mirror what's happening with the farmers? I'd be interested to know that. All right, YouTube, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I'll see you all at noon tomorrow. You can watch the rest of the show on Rockfin.